Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Series 8 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're trying out a really cool take on Series 8 Rain. This was built by a player called Pephan, who used it in the Players Cup 3 regional qualifiers. And by the way, as I mentioned, I'm commentating the Players Cup 3. A bunch of you are asking when that tournament is going to be streamed. And the answer is April 10th through April 11th is going to be the regional final stream. So I've linked more details for that down in the description below if you are curious. But yeah, come out and watch. It should be really fun. And I'm excited to feature some of the teams that made it through, and players used throughout the tournament. So this was the team that Pephan used. He's a player from Latin America and is a really cool team builder. And this team, I think, just has a lot of cool components to it. So obviously, it's a Rain team. We featured Rain a little bit throughout Series A. Obviously, we've used Classic Tornado's Kyogre. We used Polytoad, I think, Kingdra with that Zacian ranked #1 team a couple of weeks back. So this team features Choice Scarf Kyogre and a Safety Goggles Kingdra with no Protect. So the Kingdra here is often designed to Dynamax, right? You can just lead Kingdra Kyogre. And because of Scarf Kyogre, a lot of people, I think, often forget, like, Kyogres actually can run Scarf because so many people expect it to be, like, Mystic Water or one of the Water-type boosting items, for example. And as a result, like, they kind of expect it to be a little bit slower. So with Kingdra and Kyogre, you can just Dynamax Kingdra and Max Ooze to, increase Kyogre's special attack, Max Geyser just for a lot of damage, or even Max Airstream to further boost Kyogre's speed, which is really valuable. So this lead alone can really crack open teams immediately. There's also a lot of other cool stuff on this team, like the Assault Vest Escavalier, the Rage Powder, support-oriented Volcarona, the classic Trick Lagging Tail Fake Tears Grimmsnarl, and then Life Orb Zapdos. So, while Kyogre is a Pokemon that can both be a good max option and a non-max option, with this team, I think often you're actually not going to max it because you really want to just overwhelm your opponent with Water Spout and Origin Pulse most of the time. Escavalier in particular is a pretty cool pick. I think, it is rather bulky, and then if you put it in Rain with the Assault Vest, it's actually very difficult to knock out. It actually turns into a pretty solid Dynamax option. It's also a really cool option because it is rather helpful against some of the Trick Room-oriented teams that are out there, especially Calyrex-Ice teams, for example, because the rest of this team is pretty fast, but the Escavalier here alone gives you a really good answer against a lot of common Pokemon that like to thrive under Trick Room. So, yeah. A lot of cool components to this team. Huge thank you to Pephan once again for the team. Check them out, link down in the description below. And it's a rental, as you can obviously see, so feel free to try it out yourselves. Thank you to you all, as always, for watching. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. And let's get started with today's episode. Question of the day, by the way, I want to know what shows you've been watching recently and if you have any recommendations. I've personally been a big Marvel fan, so I've definitely been keeping up with the Marvel Disney Plus shows, and I recently started Succession on HBO as well. And yeah, I have been a fan of a lot of the exclusive shows on HBO, so those are just a couple. Also ended up watching the Snyder Cut over the weekend, and it was definitely, I would say, more entertaining than the original Justice League movie. So yeah, but I'm kind of a fan of everything, so I like to consume whatever is out there and whatever has good reception. So yeah. All right, let's get started with the first game today. What do we got here? Okay, it's actually a Sun matchup, so that should be really interesting. I think AV Thundurus is probably something I'm most worried about in a matchup like this. So, like, ideally, we trick Lagging Tail onto it. I like Grimmsnarl, Kingdra, Kyogre. Volcarona is actually very interesting here. Can I bring a Escavalier out? It's actually not bad against, like, Venusaur and Thundurus, Umbreon. But, we obviously don't want it against Groudon or the Charizard. Zapdos is honestly kind of interesting as well. Because I could go Grimmsnarl, Zapdos, Kyogre, Kingdra in the back. We need to play properly with our Rain here and try to win the Weather War, but it's easier said than done. I'm honestly thinking about Grimmsnarl plus the Volcarona here. Just because Volcarona is actually not bad against that Venusaur should they lead that as an option. So I'm going to try that out. Volc with Kingdra and Kyogre in the back. We'll see how this plays out. This is definitely interesting. I think, like, obviously Sun is a relatively common archetype, and I was kind of sad because with that Zekrom team, like, we didn't actually get to feature the Weather Ball plus Rain Dance combination on that Thundurus very much because we actually didn't go up against a single Groudon team. So I'm kind of just laughing because in our first game with the Kyogre team, we end up going up against a classic Weather matchup here. But I think these matchups are always really dynamic because, like, it's all about how you play towards your Weather, and in a matchup like this, in Series 8 as well, it's also like, who do you Dynamax and when do you Dynamax? So I'm hoping to have the later Dynamax and disrupt my opponent in the early game. Try to, get that Lagging Tail into whatever I think is going to Dynamax on their end. And the Volcarona here can apply some pressure too. So it's going to be Groudon and Umbreon. Okay. Groudon and Umbreon. Actually, kind of surprised my opponent led this, but I think there's probably going to be like a Snarl, for example, coming out from the Umbreon. If you're my opponent, you can just Rock Slide, you could protect Groudon. I like really want to Fake Tears Groudon and Overheat the Groudon. I can't Fake Tears Umbreon, so let's remember that. Because it's Dark type, and Prankster doesn't work against it. Groudon could so easily protect here, that's just the thing, and then Umbreon could go for like a Snarl, which is kind of annoying. I could always double up onto Umbreon, but honestly I'm kind of down to try to Fake Tears and Overheat Groudon. If we get rid of Groudon, like, we are in a really, really good spot. And if they... Okay, so they end up protecting Groudon. Yeah, good play. So I could have doubled up onto Umbreon there, but it's still fine. I think Snarl's just going to come out, and that's really not the end of the world for us. Because here's the thing. If you Dynamax your Groudon, you still take a sizable amount of damage even after a Snarl. And yeah, Snarl comes out. So I can see why my opponent played towards the Umbreon and led it here immediately. It is rather disruptive. But the thing is, they don't really have a switch into Fake Tears Overheat, I believe. Yeah, they don't. So I'm just going to go for the same play, to be honest. If you Dynamax Groudon, like, you've already committed your Dynamax, and then I can just bring in Scarf Kyogre, and that's really nice. It's just that this Umbreon's, like, a little bit annoying. But I think, regardless, I'm okay about how turn 1 played out. Even though the Protect was relatively safe and obvious, and I could have predicted that, I think it's fine. I don't think I need to make an aggressive read on turn 1. Because if I ignore Groudon and Groudon Swords Dances... or even just Rock Slides, that can be really bad, because Swords Dance especially would be brutal. The thing about Groudon is you never want to let it get a Swords Dance up against you and not do any damage to it. Basically, apply pressure so that if it gets a Sword... Like, don't give it a free Swords Dance. Because if it gets a free Swords Dance and then Dynamax is after, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So it is going to be Charizard coming in. That is definitely their only switch in, but it's still not going to take this super, super well. So honestly, I don't mind it too much. Like, and they're going to be taking solar power damage at the end of the turn, right? So, yeah, it's really not that bad for us. Does it just faint after solar power? It honestly might. Wow, Volcarona is putting in the work right now, and they're going to go for another Snarl. But, honestly, the thing is, I can just switch Volcarona out now, right? Because you're definitely not going to want to max that Charizard, given that it's so low. And all I'm doing right now is still just conserving my, yeah, so they don't faint. If we're max speed, I mean, I can just stay in and finish it off with Vol. With the Struggle Bug. It's not max speed. Oh, it's actually max defense. That's really interesting. Huh. I'm gonna get Snarled again. And then maybe like an Air Slash. Let's see. I honestly kind of just like Spirit Break onto Umbreon. And I really like the idea of switching Volcarona out right now. And I think we're gonna go into Kingdra here. Actually, because Kingdra had the safety goggles, I think I could have led Kingdra in this game. Although it actually wouldn't have helped that much. I think, like, Volcarona is actually maybe the most important thing for us right now. I'm even considering Dynamaxing it later on in this game. They're going to go for Air Slash. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's going to do a lot of damage, unfortunately, but I'm still fine with that. Interestingly enough, they're not Life Orb. I think switching out Volcarona is actually worthwhile for us there. Because Volcarona is not doing anything for us the next turn, right? So let's say I stay in with Volcarona. It just puts us in a really, really awkward spot. What's interesting now, though, is who do I actually Dynamax in this endgame? Charizard's going to faint from Solar Power, so that's good. I'm really curious on the item, given that it did not have a Life Orb. And it's Lefty's Umbreon, which is fine. So, like, Groudon's obviously in the back, and I'm wondering if it's Venusaur, this can be really interesting, right? Because then, like, we could actually max Volcarona. But it is Thundurus, which was what I was expecting. This is perfect, right? Because all I was waiting for was to get the Trick off into Thundurus. So now I can Trick onto Thundurus. I think we just sacrifice Kingdra. I really don't think Kingdra is actually that important in this game. Because the thing is, once I Trick into Thundurus... Oh, AV is probably on Thundurus, right? I have to think about that because then I can't Fake Tears, but I think it's fine. Trick onto the Thundurus and just go for a Draco here onto the Umbreon. I think is okay. Yeah, because Thundurus maxes, I take away your Assault Vest, I have Coba on the Volcarona, so then I can bring in Volk and then just max... Would I have max Bug or max Flare? I gotta think about that. I actually think we Dynamax Volcarona in this game, which is wild. That was not my game plan coming into this at all. That's also assuming AV Thundurus. It definitely could be Life Orb, and if it were Life Orb, that's even better for us to see, to be honest. But this is why I brought Grimmsnarl the whole time. I was just waiting to get this trick off. You're gonna get the Lagging Tail. Yeah, it is AV. Okay. They're going to go for an Airstream here onto Kingdra. That's fine. That's more than okay with me. Speed boost on Thunduruses don't matter like at all basically at this point. Yeah, the only downside is I can't go for Fake Tears. Like if it were Life Orb, then I can just bring in Volk, Fake Tears, Max Flare, Thundurus, and KO that. Probably Moonlight here. Yeah. Okay. So I can bring in Kyogre. Bring in Kyogre and just Spirit Break Water Spout into Umbreon. Because I think the play is to definitely just Dynamax Volcarona and sweep with this. Which, like I said, I wouldn't have expected. The only downside is doesn't have that much special attack investment, but it's still decent, especially given that the sun is up. We could also just bring Volcarona out right here. They have Max Airstream, but I do have Coba. I'm actually bringing Volk out first, but I think that's questionable. It's just, with Kyogre, I'm more limited in my options. So they can Snarl with this thing. Oh, I guess the Snarl from this is actually a problem, isn't it? The last turn of Sun as well. I want to Spirit Break. Actually, I don't know if I want to KO Umbreon. Because if we KO Thundurus, Kyogre should win the game just through Water Spouts, right? Don't want to activate a Defiant. Okay, I'm going to Spirit Break and Flare into Thundurus. And then I can Max Guard the next turn. Oh, they switch Umbreon out. Okay. Actually, this is what I was kind of worried about. Because now you can Airstream to give Groudon a speed boost. Yeah. And then Groudon can Rock Slide. But then I can Max Guard this next turn, and then Kyogre can just come in and Water Spout. With Scarf, we should still outspeed the Groudon. The thing is, how do I get Kyogre in for free is the problem. I don't think Max Throw one-shots Thundurus here, but it may have one-shot Groudon if I targeted that slot instead. Oh, that's really good damage. Wow. Okay. Yeah, the problem is I presume this thing will have Rock Slide, and I presume my opponent will Max Airstream twice. Yeah, it's gonna go into Volk. Oh, I guess I also have Rage Powder on this Volk for when my Dynamax ends, though, which is kind of neat, right? Okay. So Groudon now will want to Rock Slide. Man, I don't even think Rock Slide plus Airstream KOs the Grimmsnarl, which is the tricky thing. Sunlight fades. Like, I want to Max Guard Volk, switch into Kyogre here. Yeah, I think that's the play I'm going to go for. And if they... Oh, no, but if you just Airstream into the Grimmsnarl now, you should get a speed boost. So I think I needed to... Well, it's just tricky, because if I try to KO Umbreon... I wanted to double up on Umbreon really bad there, and I guess I should have. They could also easily just Max Lightning the Kyogre switch in here. So let's see what they opt for. Okay, it's Rock Slide, so that's fine. Actually, regardless, I mean, if Kyogre faints, isn't that bad for us? So maybe I needed to sack the Grim. Oh, but they went for Knuckle. That's actually the best option that could have happened for us. Yeah, actually, I think that might win us the game. But this was really close. And I think, like, it's more optimal for them to actually Airstream or Max Lightning in that position, so I don't like my play very much. Unless their Groudon outspeeds us. We are Choice Scarfed, so we basically match their speed boost, so it might still be a speed tie here, which is very scary. We also have to hit Origin Pulse, which I guess is the other concern here. I mean, I really don't want to set up the Sun here, because that really defeats the purpose for Kyogre. So I'll Flutterby into Groudon. It's just scary because we can miss Origin Pulse right now. Okay, Origin Pulse double hits, nice. So Scarf Kyogre comes up huge as the tech here. That should KO Groudon, right? Beautiful. This was a really close game. crit the Thundurus, but yeah, that doesn't matter. I'm not really happy about the fact I gave my opponent a free switch into Groudon and let them get a speed boost onto it, but I knew that Choice Scarf Kyogre might come up clutch in the end game for us here. So this was really interesting, right? Because I think my game plan coming into it was definitely to lean towards Dynamaxing Kingdra. I even got the lagging tail onto the Thundurus, but the problem is, yeah, Groudon is just still a really, really big threat. I think had my opponent, you know, gone for either an Airstream or a Lightning the turn I switched in Kyogre, they actually probably win this game if the Groudon connects with its attacks. Like, it needs to still hit a Precipice Blaze or a Rock Slide afterwards, but the ball is obviously in my opponent's court from that position. So this was a really, really close. And at the end, like, you know, the score is not going to indicate just how close the game was. I could have predicted the Umbreon switch out. I really, really wanted to there. Because if I just Spirit Break and Max Flare, it covers for Umbreon staying in, and it covers for the option of it switching out. So, I don't know. That may have been the better play to go for. Make sure you don't pick up the KO onto Umbreon. That's also a testament to how bulky of a Pokemon that can be. Snarl comes out, but yeah, should be game over now. The Umbreon was honestly a pain. My opponent had a really good Protect on turn 1 in general. Got that free switch into Thundurus. I'm curious if, like, Overheat plus Spirit Break could have just KO'd Umbreon turn 1. It honestly might have. Because if that picks up the KO, well, it's still awkward because then you can Dynamax Thundurus and then Max Airstream Swords Dance with Groudon. The thing with Groudon is you can just never let it get a Swords Dance off. Even if, like, it's not actually running Swords Dance, you should always assume that it's running Swords Dance until you see otherwise. But yeah, I think in the end here, my opponent just wasn't expecting the Scarf on Kyogre, and they thought they had the game locked up as soon as they get the attack boost onto Groudon. Which admittedly is honestly really smart, because if I don't have Scarf Kyogre there, Groudon should just win the game, you know, through Precipice Blades. So that's why they went for the Knuckle instead. But I think, like, you should expect Kyogre as the last one, right? So, well, I guess if I stayed in with Grimmsnarl there, yeah, then they would also maybe win. Well, I don't know if it would have KO'd Grimmsnarl. I don't think it would have. No, it shouldn't have. No, it definitely wouldn't have KO'd Grim. And if it doesn't KO Grim, then I definitely lose the game. I needed to switch into Kyogre that turn and hope to not get KO'd. So, like, the scary thing there is that, like, in the end I ended up winning, but it's not to finding, or, like, it's not because, like, what am I trying to say here? We won, but in the end, it was off one really, really close turn. And while that, I mean, it feels good to win, you typically want to play better so that you don't put yourself in scenarios where your opponent, if they just make one different play, will win the game. So I need to think about how I position myself a little bit more in that last one. But that was a sick game. I mean, we Dynamax Volcarona, brought out the Scarf Kyogre. Couldn't have asked for much more. Oh, another Sun team here, so wow. What are the odds of that? Goggles Kingdra is actually really interesting here because it does counter the Venusaur pretty hard. But I also kind of want to Dynamax Zapdos because Zamazenta is really scary. Sorry, what am I saying? Zamazenta as Zacian. Volcure, once again, is actually very compelling. Even as a Dynamax option, interestingly enough. So maybe I don't bring Kingdra, because Kingdra honestly doesn't look that good here. The only thing is Kingdra's so good against Venusaur specifically. Just feels bad to not bring Zapdos, and I really feel like I should, to be honest. Okay, I'm gonna go Grim, Zapdos, Volk, Kyogre. I think. I could just I could see myself kicking myself for this one though, should they end up going with the Venusaur lead. We didn't even see Venusaur in the last game, but it would be frustrating just because if Venusaur comes out, I obviously could have just maxed or brought Kingdra with safety goggles. I don't even have to worry about a sleep powder. But to be honest, so many Venusaurs are even running Coba these days. I don't even think Kingdra is that good as a counter, but it is Venu Porygon. Okay, to be honest, I don't think Kingdra would have helped too much against this lead, so honestly, I don't mind. I have Fake Out. I have Trick Lagging Tail. If you have Torkoal, if you're leading P2 Venusaur, you should have Zacian in the back, and I'm thinking Torkoal was their last one. So my opponent can Sleep Powder, Trick Room turn 1, or they could switch Porygon into Torkoal and then try to Sleep Powder Zapdos. I think those are both viable options. It's pretty safe to trick into Venusaur, to be honest. I kind of just like trick into Venusaur and then protect on Zapdos. It's just the only downside is they actually Sleep Powder Grimmsnarl, but I feel like that's if they make that play, like props to them. That's just a good play. Oh, okay, they max Venu. Huh. How do we feel about this? Actually, I think this is great for us. Although what's interesting is that their Porygon's actually going to turn into an offensive monster. I could have gone Fake Out Porygon, Max Airstream, or Fake Tears Airstream Porygon. But no, I mean, the fact we get Trick onto Venusaur to start the game is good. However, the downside is they probably oozed into my Grimmsnarl, which isn't good. But the thing is, I can just Fake Tears, Max Flare, Airstream Venusaur next turn for a KO. Like I said, though, this Porygon's actually going to be a pretty big offensive threat. Oh my gosh, I actually almost one-shot. Was that a crit, or does it really just do that much? Oh, wow. Okay, well, it's clutch that we survive. Did Porygon double up here? Did it Trick Room? Okay, it did go for Trick Room. That's fine. I mean, Fake Tears Airstream here is really obvious. So Venu, like, you would think Venu Max Guards and then Porygon Ice Beams into Grimmsnarl, right? That seems to make a lot of sense. So I could Fake Tears the Porygon, or I can just get rid of its Eviolite. They could also not protect the Venusaur, but I really think it should here. Okay, I think I'm going to go for Fake Tears. Max Lightning. What's the downside? If they don't protect Venusaur, they could Vine Lash plus Ice Beam into Zapdos. I'd be taking a +2 Ice Beam from a Porygon 2, a +1 Vine Lash onto Zapdos. They knock out my Grimmsnarl. Maybe it is possible for them to not even protect the Venusaur here, honestly. Should have Airstreamed, I guess, to cover for that specific option. It's funny because I even ended up getting Fake Tears onto Venusaur. I mean, Max Lightning was stronger base power there, so I wanted to go for that instead. Oh, that's a cheeky ally switch. Okay. Well, good play on their end. Yep, they're going to go for Vine Lash onto Zapdos here. I mean, I can go into Volk. Like, it's still really not the end of the world, but the thing is now it's a pain in the butt to deal with this Porygon too, because I didn't get rid of its item, and it was able to Trick Room Ally Switch, recover Ice Beam. Is its moveset maybe? Well, that one's a bummer. That's really tough. What should our goal be? Stall out Trick Room. Not getting a Fake Tears on a Porygon is so tough, though. Yeah, that part is so rough. 3 turns of Trick Room. Should be Torkoal plus Zacian in the back. And the problem is if I KO Venusaur, you get a free switch into Torkoal. Although I suppose I could switch into Kyogre. It's just, this Porygon is now so hard to deal with. I don't have Heat Wave here either, which is the other problem. Going for just Overheat plus Lightning, but I don't even know if that makes that much sense. Okay, they have Tri-Attack, so it's not Ice Beam at least. It's a lot of damage onto Volk. Overheat connects and KOs at least, which is good. But, I mean, I definitely did not have the better of the 2 turns, the first 2 turns. It was just the ally switch. I mean, it's not a very common attack on Porygon 2, right? Standard is Trick Room, Recover, and then a combination of Tri-Attack, Ice Beam. But the thing is, you have a lot of flexibility. Yeah, I don't think Overheat KOs Porygon there. But it's frustrating because you see that Max Lightning did just over 50%, so Fake Tears plus Max Lightning was actually a one-hit KO onto Porygon. So given that, I actually could have just doubled up onto Porygon turn 1 with Fake Tears Max Lightning. The problem with that play is if my opponent switches out Porygon into Torkoal and then just Sleep Powders into Zapdos, because if they hit the Sleep Powder onto Zapdos and I Dynamax turn 1, it's like an insta-loss for us, basically. Okay. Is there any chance we can still claw back into this? There's still 2 turns of Trick Room. It should be Zacian in the back. I have Scarf Kyogre right now. So I could obviously switch into Scarf Ogre. I think I just go for the KO here onto the Porygon, but Porygon could so easily recover. You could also just try attack Zapdos, and I mean, if you just actually Ice Beam, I don't think I actually have an out here. That ally switch, I think, just cost me. the game. And I could have covered for the option of Ally Switch by Airstreaming instead, but I actually don't think the Airstream Fake Tears combo KOs Porygon. Maybe Zapdos can hang on here. Especially if... Oh, they actually target the Kyogre. Okay, this gives us a shot, maybe? We survive this, right? Yeah. Okay, I think we're actually still in this, then. Because now we have Scarf Ogre to play with. Hold on. This is definitely winnable. Oh, wait. I take so much residual, though. Like, I'm a Heat Wave away from fainting now, aren't I? Oh, Vine Lash's effect is so good. The way we win this is if we somehow manage to get 2 Water Spout or 2 Origin Pulses off against Zacian. There's still a turn of Trick Room, but I've just taken too much damage on Zapdos. If you're my opponent, though, you don't know that I'm not Scarfed. One more turn of Vine Lash. What if I stay in with Kyogre? Because I'm expecting you to protect Zacian. I mean, if Zacian doesn't protect, don't I lose anyway? Actually, Zacian should never protect here. So is there any way I can win assuming it doesn't protect? It would be crit Origin Pulse. That's basically it. But I think my opponent could mess up here and protect Zacian. Not expecting Scarf. So I think that's what I play towards. I'm going to Thunder Zacian and Origin Pulse. If they protect, we can win. Okay, they protect. Oh, this is doable. This is doable. Oh, does this KO? No way. Okay. Oh, but no, I faint from the, Oh, I faint from Vine Lash now. On both Pokemon, don't I? If I switched out there, would I have won? I don't think so. This was a really close game, so I can't complain, but... The Vine Lash damage is just so dang good. If we survive, then we'd actually win because we would just Rage Powder. We'd still need to hit 2 Origin Pulses, so like it's not like it's a guaranteed win. This was a really close game. Good Earth Power there instead of like Heat Waving. Because they knew the Zapdos was going to faint there anyway. So what I could have done there was... Well, no, even if I switch in Volk, like Zapdos faints, I think I still lose unless... Well, single target Origin Pulse maybe KOs the... Zacian. So what I could have done there was Thundered into Torkoal, switch Kyogre out into Volcarona, sacrifice Kyogre, or sorry, Volk and Zapdos, and then bring in Kyogre again to single target Origin Pulse Zacian. I don't know if that's a one-hit KO, but I think that's our best bet. Now with Rain Up, yeah, there's no way we can win this. That was a really close match. I mean, that ally switch really ruined it for us in the end, unfortunately. Or not in the end, to start. But I could have gone for Fake Tears Airstream to cover for that option, potentially. Man, if I actually covered for that option, they wouldn't even get the Vine Lash off, and I think we'd actually probably win the game, because then we get rid of the only threat to Kyogre. I guess turn one, honestly, I also could have just... I mean, I already mentioned that. I was going to say Fake Tears Lightning into the Kyogre, or sorry, the Porygon, but... I don't know, if you switch out into Torkoal there... I guess, though, as soon as I see Porygon and Venusaur, I know you have Torkoal and Zacian in the back, which means you have to max Venusaur, and it's so risky not to max Venusaur on turn 1 against me in that scenario. Alright, last game of the day, and I think this is actually definitely an Escavalier game, so I'm pretty excited to feature that. Man, we went up against 3 different teams with Sun users, though, which definitely is a little downside. That's okay, though. So let's see, if you're my opponent, you want to guarantee Trick Room, you know, you can just lead Indeedee Dusclops, for example. Scarf Ogre actually wrecks here in terms of damage just initially. But I want to be a little bit careful because I don't want to give them a free switch in. Although, what if I went Kingdra, Kyogre, Max Ooze, Water Spout? You'd have to switch into Torkoal. Wait, okay, that's actually somewhat interesting. And then Volk for redirection for Escavalier support. Okay, I definitely am not bringing Zapdos into this matchup, right? Doesn't do anything against Stakataka or Calyrex-Ice. I shouldn't say it doesn't do anything. You can actually get some sizable damage off with it, but it doesn't make a lot of sense here. Definitely don't want Grimmsnarl, I think, into a matchup with Indeedee alone, just because the Psychic Terrain prevents me from going for Trick and Fake Tears. If Indeedee were not on my opponent's team, I actually think it's Grimmsnarl is a really strong bring, because you can trick away the Eviolite, and also get rid of potential policy on Calyrex. Okay, I mean, it's Dusclops plus Indeedee. If I'm my opponent here, what am I going for? Follow me, Trick Room? So does Muddy Water Water Spout KO here? Without a Life Orb or Respects, I'm not 100% sure. But to be honest, I really don't want to Dynamax. I really don't want to Dynamax Kingdra if Trick Room goes up. So, because I think Dynamax Escavalier is actually still pretty decent. So yeah, I'm going to go for this. Yeah, and they went for Follow Me. I just don't know if a +1 Water Spout would have KO'd Dusclops in Rain. Please don't tell me that missed Dusclops. Okay. I don't know. I don't think it's enough. Yeah, I don't think Spout's going to do enough here. You know what? That's okay, though, to be honest. We don't need to pick up a KO here. And it's actually good that we not missed Indeedee now that I think about it. Because sure, you get Trick Room up, but now I can actually switch into a Escavalier very safely. Question is who to stay in with. There's actually an argument to be made to just stay in with both Pokemon right now. But if you're my opponent, you probably, what, Pain Split, Kyogre, Expanding Force? So I can go into Volcarona here. I actually kind of like double switching. Maybe just leading Escavalier would have worked out here. I don't think a +1 Water Spout was going to KO Dusclops. So Max Ooze into Water Spout wouldn't have been great. The thing is, if it actually is a guaranteed KO, that's 100% the play we always make. Because my opponent just can't deal with Kingdra Kyogre otherwise. But we got a lot of good damage on the board, so I can't really complain. Knockoff here from the Escavalier is actually really neat as well. So glad to bring that Pokemon out. Huh. Memento. Wow. Okay, well, that switching couldn't have worked out any better for us. You don't see that as often, but it makes sense because it gives you a free switch, and it's just that Dusclops... Whoa. Whoa. Now that I've actually really never seen before, but that is fascinating. Huh. But to be honest, it's not even that bad for us, I feel like. We know it's going to be Calyrex-Ice in the back. It is Torkoal. Torkoal. I mean, if we can stall out Trick Room, Kyogre Water Spout should just demolish. But how in the world do we do that, right? I don't think Max Quake one-shots this thing either. Otherwise, I'd consider switching Escav into... Or sorry, Volk into Kyogre. I mean, we can definitely sacrifice Kingdra. It still, it's just that 3 turns of Trick Room to work under. I think it's probably correct to... I'm down to Struggle Bug here. Is it worth it to switch into Kyogre? Oh, I just want to double check our speed here. I think the Kyogre switching here is questionable. But if I can change the weather this turn and Kyogre doesn't faint, then I can just switch Kyogre back out next turn. Into Kingdra. Bring Escavalier back in. Maybe it is better to protect Volk here, but I like the idea of getting a single special attack drop onto the Torkoal. Also, I could theoretically Rage Powder and Origin Pulse this next turn. I just didn't expect Memento and Healing Wish. That's really interesting. Yeah, so Calyrex is going to Dynamax, but that's actually not too scary because it's not going to get like a policy activated off at least this turn. Berries being cancelled are irrelevant right now, so that's not too much of a deal. I spoke too soon. Gyro Ball Torkoal. Oh my gosh. What? And they're going to Quake here. Into Volk. Oh gosh. Okay. Okay. That makes sense though. Of course there has to be some way to activate that policy. Sheesh. Did not see that one coming, though, I have to say. I have Clear Smog on this thing. It's actually really interesting. I think we bring out Kingdra because we can try to just Clear Smog and Clear Smog this thing and just Origin Pulse. Yeah, I kind of like that. Torkoal's useless right now damage-wise. You're not changing the weather. Calyrex-Ice can obviously Hailstorm to change the weather. But it's like either... Okay, worst case here is Torkoal actually protects. If you have Gyro Ball, do you really have Protect as well? I guess you could just be Gyro Ball, double fire type attack. It might be like Eruption Body Press stuff too. Nope, they just Earth Power. That works for me. Into Kyogre. That was a crit too. It's fine. Oh, but I don't KO Torkoal now, do I? Because they have the special defense boost and they've changed the weather. So I'm not sure I do. Okay. Oh, so close. It's not enough though. Yeah, I mean, this Calyrex is really just wrecking me, but I think Escavalier could still pull this off. Whew. Last turn of Trick Room. This thing's at +4. Can Dynamax. Steel Spike into this thing, and Origin Pulse. If I just went for Rage Powder with Volcarona too, I would have redirected that Gyro Ball to begin with. And then I don't even know if Max Way KOs Volk. So that was definitely the play. I just was like, how in the world is Torkoal going to activate a policy? But I guess they could have had Flamethrower as well. Gyro Ball makes the most sense, though. You can see my opponent's team is 100% designed around Calyrex-Ice to sweep. That's basically it. They're going all in with that. So, let's see. Is Escavalier and Torkoal the same base speed? I actually don't remember. I think it is, right? So maybe Escav can still pull off this comeback. Because this should KO, and we get a defense boost. And then I'm hoping Steel Spike can just one-shot the Calyrex-Ice from the range that it's at after Trick Room's over. Because presumably you KO the Kyogre right now. Well, actually, I guess you could just, like, Max Quake into Scav. Oh, let's see what they target with Quake. No, they target Kyogre, okay. Oh, I mean, the question is, how much do you do with Calyrex-Ice now against us? Oh... Calyrex-Ice is certainly boosted up. And it's a shame, right? Because, like, the whole point of Escavalier is to beat the Calyrex-Ice under Trick Room, but now Trick Room's over. But I think I had to target Torkoal there that turn and play towards this scenario. They're at, what, +5 attack? But we are +1 defense. I don't... Maybe Max Steel Spike just one-shots here. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. I think we should take a Glacial Lance or a High Horsepower. I don't think you protect here. I actually think you have to attack. Because protecting doesn't accomplish... Oh, I guess you could double protect. They just go for High Horsepower. Yeah, actually, even if this doesn't KO, the defense boost should allow us to survive another one. Oh, let's go. I'm pretty sure that was a speed tie between Torkoal and Escavdos, right? So if I lose that speed tie, I'm pretty sure I lose the game. Actually, just want to double check that because that's actually really important. Torkoal, because I thought we're both base 20. Yeah. So I think that was definitely a speed tie, because there's no reason for the Torkoal not to be win speed, so if we lose the speed tie there, we definitely just lose the game. So I didn't expect a Gyro Ball, and I should have played towards that and redirected it away with Volcarona. I think that definitely would have been better, but I didn't do that initially. And that was really cool. And as soon as I see Torkoal plus the Calyrex-Ice come in together, I should think, you know, immediately. And it's not like Torkoal doesn't have super effective attacks, right? Even if it's like a side Flamethrower, sure, that does a lot, but it's not like it has no way to hit it to activate a policy. So, Rage Powder would have been really nice there, but in the end, like, my opponent just gave up too many resources, right? But, like I said, if they win that speed tie with Torkoal, it could have been really scary. Calyrex, I've seen a bunch of, like, teams around Calyrex-Ice where you just try to snowball, like, very, very quickly, and, yeah, I mean, that's exactly what my opponent tried to do, but Escav is actually like this game highlights why Scav is on this team, right? It actually is a really, really good answer, specifically against Calyrex-Ice. So Torkoal being a partner made things a lot tougher. A lot of Calyrex-Ice teams don't even have Torkoal, so that makes things easier. But the Torkoal there obviously means you have a bigger threat to us. But that was a really cool team from my opponent. You had the Memento and the Healing Wish, both, giving you free opportunity to get that free switch in immediately and try to sweep through. So that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I think really, really interesting teams all across the board. All right, last game of the day. We've got Dialga. So unfortunately today, we didn't really get to just spam Kingdra Kyogre, but I think it also speaks to the strength of the team that we don't have to just rely on that and we can still win, which is good. In fact, I actually think this is an Escavalier kind of game. Kyogre is actually very mediocre here into Fini, Rillaboom, and Dialga. I think we play towards Grimmsnarl, like try to get the lagging tail onto Dialga. But I think instant Dialga is absolutely a lead we can expect here. Kyogre Volk would be interesting. I definitely want to Dynamax Escavalier in this game, but I guess what I'm struggling to see is how I also effectively beat Zapdos if I go... Because Max Zapdos is really good as well. And I want to bring Volk for Struggle Bug specifically here. Oh, I don't see a clear path to victory here. I mean, I'm going Kyogre, Volk, Escavalier. Grimmsnarl would be for Trick, but that's about it. So maybe I just bring Zapdos instead. Not 100% sure about my approach here. The games today have been really close, to be honest. Like, all three games we've had, like, the 2 wins we had felt very losable. Like, it all kind of came down to one turn. For example, like, we won that speed tie with the Escavalier. And then in that first game, yeah, my opponent went for Knuckle instead of Airstream or Lightning. And then in that second game, it was the ally switch. So the margins have been really, really razor thin. Okay, it's Rillaboom plus Dialga. And I expect just Fake Out here. They could Glide as well into Kyogre. I'm definitely switching into Escavalier here. It's just that I want to get a Struggle Bug off if I can. So, like, Kyogre out into Escav and Struggle Bug with Volk. I think would be kind of nice here if we could get it off. Maybe they just go for Fake Out onto Volcarona, but to be honest, I don't know if you really identify Volk as that big of a threat right now. I guess neither is Kyogre though, right? Like, who in the right mind would stay in against a Rillaboom with Kyogre? Not many people. Fake Out. Yeah, onto Volk. Okay, that's fine though. The most important thing is that I get a Escavalier for free under Trick Room, which is kind of nice, but I suspect that Incineroar is going to be in the back for my opponent right now. So you could obviously pivot out into Incin. You could even max Dialga, for example. My lead was kind of subpar here, I think. So Rillaboom into Incineroar, definitely a plausible play. For that reason, I'm not sure I want to Dynamax. If we crit Drill Run onto an Incin switch in, that'd be kind of neat. Don't want to activate a policy on Dialga. Ooh, actually we have Knockoff here. I actually really like that. Let's go for Knockoff onto Dialga and go for a Struggle Bug here. Yep. That should be Incin switching in, right? Yeah. I guess Dialga might just one-shot Volcarona, though, which is the problem here. It's just frustrating, because I led Kyogre to try to counter the Incineroar, but my opponent just one-upped me by bringing that Rillaboom. They're going to max Dialga, which also makes sense. So, what's my best counter to a Rillaboom plus Dialga combination? Leading Escavalier outright is kind of interesting. That could have been cool. I think they just Worm Wind into Volk right now, and I mean, if that one-shots, that's bad news for us. The good thing is we'll get the knockoff beforehand. If I can get a single special attack drop on this Dialga, it's actually a really big deal. Let's see what item you were carrying. It was Policy, okay. Max Rockfall? That actually makes a lot of sense because it's like the best direct counter to Charizard, right? Oh man, I did not see that one coming. Jeez, that actually just demolishes our Volk and our Zapdos here. How in the world do I get out of this? Because I have to reset the Intimidate drop on this thing as well. Oh, wow. Because I was thinking, yeah, maybe we can survive a Warm Wind. So is it Ancient Power Dialga? It must be, right? That's fascinating. Okay. I really don't know what to go out into. Bring out Kyogre. They can just fake out Kyogre. I wish I had a way to like increase Escavalier's attack right now, like a Swords Dance or something, because without that, that's the main problem. Could have gone for Drill Run onto the instant switch in. I could have protected Volcarona as well. I think that was probably the play, but I don't know. If they don't have Rockfall, we survive Wormwind and get a Struggle Bug off there. We're actually in really good shape, I think. So yeah. Dialga is probably one of the best Pokemon restricteds actually for this team to go up against. Sorry, for to use against the team that we have, especially because they have Rockfall. So sometimes that's just, you know, how matchups shake out a little bit. Man, I can switch out, but we're so far behind. I honestly might just try to go for a Drill Run crit. Because I don't really see a good path to victory at this point, especially after that Rockfall surprise. Yeah, they actually switch out Instant into Rillaboom again? To Fini, okay. That makes sense too. I think it's just so tricky because we don't have a way to effectively deal damage into Dialga. So I can't think of a good game plan here. I really can't. Yeah, it's so little damage after the max. They have Quake, which is interesting. So that means you drop one of Steel Spike or Wormwind. I'm curious which one it is. If I actually switched out into Zapdos there, that could have been pretty interesting. Okay, I don't think this game is over, so I'm not gonna give up yet, but it's definitely a tricky spot. The thing is, if we actually eliminate Incin, we'd be in a very good spot. So I'm gonna switch a Scav into Zapdos now and go for another Origin Pulse. The good thing is that their Dynamax will end and we still have our Dynamax to play with. The downside is I don't even have a good Dynamax option right now. I guess Grimmsnarl could have been worth it just to pressure with Lagging Tail. But it's yeah, the Dialga alone just counters us so hard, especially because that's Max Rockfall. I have nothing for it. And because of his weakness policy, like, it's not like I can just Max Escavalier and Max Quake into it. So, once again, that's like the upside of running a specific type or specific move that sometimes players won't expect. Fini Protector, actually, that's not bad for, especially if they like Quaked into Escavalier here. Okay, maybe there's actually a chance then. I feel like they really didn't need to protect Fini in that position. Okay, I actually think we have the opportunity to win this game now. It is far from over. I can't knock out this Dialga easily. That's the problem. It's the last turn of Trick Room, right? This is at +1 Spadef. I want a Dynamax and Lightning into Fini. And I think I'm going to switch Kyogre out into Escavalier here. Actually, do I just stay in? It seems bizarre, but I actually don't think they have good damage output into Kyogre. Let's see, we saw Quake, Ancient Power. Your Dragon and Steel type attacks into Kyogre actually don't do very much. So I actually think in this position it's better to Dynamax and just Lightning into Fini and Origin Pulse here. Yeah, okay, we can actually maybe win this. Because we've gotten rid of the policy on Dialga, and our Drill Run in the late game will actually do a sizable amount. This would be a pretty cool comeback to pull off, because, I don't know, the matchup is really, really tough, and like, initially I was kind of hard locked on Dynamaxing the Escavalier. Ooh, they actually missed some Muddy Water as well. Okay, misses Kyogre. Well, Zapdos is probably the more important target to hit there. They crit. Honestly, I would have preferred them to just hit both there. Oh, it's Power Gem. That's the, shoot, that's actually so much damage. Oh. I feel like that's too much damage, right? Well, not necessarily. Yeah, I really would have just preferred not to get crit there. That crit actually maybe seals it up. 2 Power Gems might have KO'd anyway. And we miss Origin Pulse. I need all the damage I can get, so... That's not the turn you want to see when you're trying to pull off a comeback, but this is why it's better to have a lead than to not have a lead. Because when you're playing from behind, you need everything to go right? And things are definitely not going right here. But I still think it's doable. Because, like, Instinct comes out. We still have a Escavalier in the back, and I can get a huge attack off into Instinct here. They'll probably Trick Room, but that's actually okay. Because, like, what I think I can do here is go for a Lightning onto the Incineroar, switch Kyogre out into Escav. Expecting Fake Out into Kyogre. Actually, do I even need to switch into Escavalier here? Even if you fake me out, I get the Lightning off? Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. Because Escav in the late game maybe wins this. And there's a small chance they don't fake out. Okay, well, either way, it's definitely Lightning into Instant. The question is whether or not I switch out. I think it's still worth switching out, actually. Because the Escav is just so good in this position. Because then it pressures both of my opponent's Pokemon with a lot of damage this next turn. It's just like, if Instant actually doesn't fake out here, I had a small opportunity. But yeah, they do go for fake out. Missing that Origin Pulse is honestly a really big bummer, though, I have to say. Yeah, so we'll see. It's really good damage onto Instant. Yeah, they set up Trick Room again. But the thing is, now I can Mega Horn into Instant. And that might switch out into Rillaboom, but Mega Horn covers the switch out option. So Max Guard here. And Mega Horn. And that should KO Instant or Rillaboom in this position. And you'll probably Power Gem into Zapdos. Oh, this is intense. Either way, I can't complain. I mean, even if we lose this, I think both of the potential losses we'll have had today were really good games, as well as the wins. And I'd rather have 4 really close games that, you know, split 2-2 wins than just win all of my games, you know, because it's, I think, more fun to have close games than just dominate and sweep. If I'm in this position, I would switch Instant out into Rillaboom, right? And if you don't, that's also honestly also fine. Yeah, so they make the switch. Please hit this Mega Horn Escavalier. Especially, like, we're also hoping, right, that they Power Gemmed into Zapdos here. Max Guard's kind of obvious, so maybe they didn't, but we'll see. Okay. Because we know this Dialga can't actually do that much into Escavalier. Okay, we hit Mega Horn, which is huge. It's enough for one hit KO. Okay, we're doing it, maybe? Show me Power Gem into Zapdos. Okay, perfect. I mean, this is still tough, but it's a much better position than we were in just a couple of turns ago. Especially because I just eliminated Rillaboom, and that's the biggest threat to my Kyogre. Man, I just really didn't expect that Max Rockfall at all. That's wild. Okay, so Instinct comes out. Does -1 Drill Run KO Incineroar? I am not 100% sure. I'm really not sure. Because, like, I still don't... Like, that's why missing that Origin Pulse earlier kind of stunk. Because, like, this thing was at, what, +1 speed up? But it still would have done a sizable amount. There's still 3 turns of Trick Room left. I just protected. Instinct can obviously fake out. I don't know if Drill Run's a KO from the range that it's at right now. You can obviously Power Gem Zapdos. I lean towards Detect here. Like, go for the double. It's fine if we don't get it. Actually, it's probably better if we don't get it, right? Because then I get a free switch and back into Escavalier. Hold on. Yeah, that's actually the play. We don't want to get a double protect right now. So let's Thunder into Instant, switch Escav out into Kyogre to reset that Intimidate, and then bring Escavalier back in. Zapdos will definitely faint, I think. And if you don't target it, actually, we win the game because Thunder will KO Incineroar. So I need to reset that Intimidate. There's Fake Out. Yep. Okay, good. Power Gem into... Oh, they doubled up into Escav. Okay, I think that just wins us the game now, actually. And that play makes sense. Assuming this KO's Instant. Nice. Okay, now it's a 3-on-1. Wow. This game is nuts. I don't... Yeah, because the thing is, like, my opponent felt pressure to actually get damage off onto Escavalier, right? But we have Assault Vest, which is really good. And there's still 2 turns of Trick Room here. This Dialga probably can't protect. So I will faint here. And I think we'll go for Hurricane. Right, Hurricane and Thunder are the same base power, right? So might as well go for a Confusion. Don't want to paralyze that Dialga, let it outspeed us. And Ice Beam here. Okay, it's still going to be close, but I think this is actually so doable now. Yeah, they're going to Earth Power into Kyogre, which is the right play. 121 down to 65. So after Grassy Terrain, we actually should survive another one, for sure. Wow. This is why, like, you don't give up even if you have a seemingly awful matchup. I think, like, my opponent, by going for Max Quakes and pressuring the Escavalier, actually gave us free switch-ins, and Escavalier was so good in this one. It was unbelievably good. So shoutouts to Escavalier, honestly. So we're bringing that out. Wow, this is actually one of my favorite games on Road to Ranked, I think, in all of Series A, because I honestly really thought it was over as soon as Max Rockfall came out. Like, didn't really see a good path to victory. Still not over yet, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's the last turn of Trick Room. The way my opponent can win is just off of bajillion misses, but if we just hit Drill Run here, it's game over. I really like the Fake Out Power Gem double up from my opponent sent into Escavalier. I think that actually makes a lot of sense, because like at this point they realize, hey, I actually don't have a great way to deal with Escavalier. Dialga hangs on with the Sliver, but now it should be a guaranteed win, and they actually end up Earth Powering Escavalier, yeah. You can see how good it is with the Assault Vest. So, like, the main thing that was tricky here is I just didn't see how to position myself for damage, but the thing is that my opponent's Pokemon next to Dialga actually really didn't do very much for them. And this is why positioning matters so much in VGC, because we managed to get Escavalier into a position where it could pressure either the Incineroar and the Rillaboom, and we did enough damage onto the Incin, which was really, really critical. But that was definitely one of the craziest games we've had on Road to Ranked, so yeah, definitely a fun one to end things on. I'm just kind of sad we didn't get to go, like, super hard with Kingdra plus Kyogre, but, I mean, shoutouts to Escavalier and Volcarona, right? They carried us in most of the wins that we had today. And you can see how well constructed this team is. It's not just a Kyogre Kingdra team, right? Volk and Escav were absolutely essential to getting the wins that we did in this one, so... Man, I mean, that last game was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. But overall, I think it was a really, really fun series of games. So, yeah, thank you so much, as always, for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I think there are a lot of really cool takeaways from today's episode. I'm hoping to just spam Kingdra Kyogre a little bit more tomorrow, because I didn't even get to use, like, the Max Ooze Water Spout combination. But we'll see what the next matches have. Either way, thanks, as always, for watching. Thank you to Pephan for the team. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and don't forget to answer the question of the day. I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.